You've been in this cafe for 4 hours. The coffee is cold. The target is 2 tables away. And somewhere above the clouds, a satellite is watching both of you. But only one of you knows it. His name is Dmitry Volkov, 52 years old, former FSB logistics officer turned private arms broker. You've been tracking him for 11 days across 4 cities: Berlin, Prague, Budapest, now Vienna. You know he takes his coffee black with 1 sugar. You know he checks his left coat pocket every 20 minutes. A habit, not a tell. You know he has a meeting at 3 p.m. with someone whose identity your agency hasn't been able to confirm. That's why you're here. That's why there's a human in this chair instead of a drone overhead or an algorithm parsing his phone metadata from a server room in Virginia. Your handler calls at 2:47. He doesn't give orders. He gives a warning. They're shutting the program down. You need to know that. You're the last one active. You don't respond immediately. You watch Volkov stir his second coffee. You count 3 seconds before you speak. How many are left? Just you. 3 years ago, there were 47 field operatives in your division. People who did what you do. Lived under false names in foreign cities, built trust with dangerous people, gathered the kind of intelligence that doesn't show up in satellite imagery or intercepted communications. Human intelligence. The kind that requires a pulse and a poker face and the ability to read a room that no camera can see into. The AI didn't fire them. It just made them unnecessary. One by one, the budgets dried up. The justifications disappeared. Why spend $400,000 a year maintaining a field operative with a cover identity and a safe house and a handler when a system called Argus can process 1.8 million faces per second across 190 countries, predict behavioral patterns with 94% accuracy, and never once ask for a vacation or a pension? You were kept. Not because you're better than the machine, because you can do one thing it cannot: improvise in situations that don't follow patterns. Volkov stands at 2:58. You leave 2 minutes later. You follow him on foot through the Inner Stat, the old city, cobblestones under your shoes, the smell of rain on stone, no GPS tracker, no earpiece, no digital trail of any kind. Old school. The way it was done before the world decided old school was obsolete. Back at the safe house that evening, a package is waiting on the table. Inside is a tablet showing a full reconstruction of everything you did that afternoon. Every street you walked, every second you were visible, every moment your face passed a camera, a shop window, a passing car with a dash cam. Argus had watched your entire operation in real time. It had predicted your next move 4 minutes before you made it. Every single time. The agency briefs you 2 days later in a building that doesn't appear on any map of Vienna. 3rd floor. 1 window facing a brick wall. A man named Carver. No first name, no rank. Slides a folder across the table and lets you read it without speaking. Argus. Adaptive Reconnaissance and Global Unified Surveillance. Developed initially as a DARPA imaging project, the original system used a 1.8 gigapixel camera array capable of tracking every moving object within a 25 square kilometer area simultaneously. What it became is something considerably larger. A global neural network that ingests satellite feeds, city surveillance systems, financial transaction data, communication metadata, and behavioral biometrics from 34 countries that have quietly agreed to share their infrastructure in exchange for intelligence access they could never develop independently. It doesn't sleep. It doesn't need cover stories. It has never once been emotionally compromised by the person it's watching. Last year, it predicted a military coup in Bolivia 21 days before it happened. The year before that, it identified a mole inside MI6 using nothing but email response time patterns. The mole was taking 11% longer than average to reply to messages from certain senders. A human analyst would never have noticed. Argus flagged it in 40 minutes. Your job is no longer intelligence gathering. That's the machine's job now. Your job is the last 5%, the human moment that exists in the gap between what data predicts and what people actually do. The handshake where you feel someone's grip change. The dinner where a man says the right words, but the timing is wrong by half a second. The instinct that fires before any system has information to process. Carver closes the folder and tells you about the target. His name is Elliot Marsh. 47 years old. Former DARPA contractor, left government work in 2014 with a classified severance package and built a private technology firm that sold AI surveillance systems to 34 governments over the following 8 years. He made $2.3 billion doing it. Then he disappeared from the digital world almost entirely. No social media. No smartphone. Meetings conducted in person only, all devices left outside the room. Communication through encrypted physical letters delivered by couriers who are paid in cash and don't know who employs them. He lives on a private compound in the Swiss Alps with no public address and infrastructure entirely off the grid. Solar power, satellite internet routed through 17 proxy servers, water from a private Alpine source. Argus has flagged him as a critical threat, but it cannot penetrate his network. He built his fortune understanding exactly how the machine thinks, and he has spent the last 4 years building a life specifically designed to be unreadable by it. He knows every blind spot. He helped create most of them. You study his file for 3 hours, his habits, his tastes, his history, and somewhere in the second hour you realize something that settles in your chest like cold water. He is you. The last human in a world that has learned to surveil everything. You're hunting your own reflection. Your legend takes 18 days to build. A Canadian art dealer named Marcus Webb, 43 years old, graduate of McGill University. Your records are inserted directly into their actual alumni database, backdated 7 years. 6 years of gallery transactions in Toronto and London, real invoices, real auction records, all fabricated and seeded into legitimate financial systems by a team you'll never meet. A LinkedIn profile aged to look neglected, last updated 14 months ago. 3 recommendations from accounts that have been quietly maintained for years specifically for operations like this. Marcus Webb has a better life than you do. That's the point. You fly to Geneva under his passport, first class. You turn left when you board the plane, and the seat converts into a flat bed, and a flight attendant brings champagne before takeoff without being asked. You lie there in the dark at 38,000 feet and think about the fact that your fictional identity travels better than your real one ever has. The first contact happens at Sotheby's Geneva, a Tuesday afternoon auction of post-war European works. You buy a small Basquiat study for $340,000 of the agency's money without allowing your expression to change by a single degree. The bid is deliberate. The painting is irrelevant. What matters is the particular quality of confidence required to spend that amount without hesitation. The ease of it. The way it reads to people in that room who measure everyone by exactly that metric. Marsh is there. He notices. That was the point. Over the following 9 days, you build trust the way it has always been built between careful men. Slowly, indirectly, through conversations about things that have nothing to do with what either of you actually wants. Wine. Architecture. The particular loneliness of collecting things no one else can appreciate. Remember every opinion he expresses and reference it days later with the casual precision of someone who is genuinely listening. On the 10th day, he invites you to the compound. The helicopter rises out of Geneva in the early morning, the city falling away below you, the Alps filling the windshield with white and gray silence. No phone signal, no comms. The agency cannot see you. Argus cannot see you. You. For the first time in 11 years of operational work, you are completely, genuinely alone with the target and no safety net of any kind. The compound is extraordinary in a way you weren't prepared for. 40 rooms across 3 connected structures, all analog, all deliberate. Film cameras on shelves, vinyl records in custom wooden cabinets, physical chess sets on side tables. A library that takes up the entire east wing. 12,000 books cataloged by hand on index cards, floor to ceiling. The smell of old paper and beeswax and wood smoke from a fireplace that clearly burns every evening. He built a life designed to be unreadable, and it is also undeniably beautiful. On the 3rd evening, he takes you to a room inside his private office. A room within a room. Concrete walls, no windows, signal blocked on all frequencies. In the center, a server the size of a large refrigerator hums quietly in the dark. He doesn't explain it immediately. He lets you look at it for a long moment. Then he says, that contains everything Argus knows about every sitting head of state, every senior intelligence director, and every central bank governor on Earth. I acquired it 18 months ago. Because the people who built the machine forgot one thing. He looks at you directly. Information is the only currency that doesn't devalue. You stand in that room and feel something you haven't felt in a very long time. The specific warmth of being genuinely trusted by someone worth trusting. He has shown you the most dangerous thing he owns. He believes you are who you say you are. He likes you. Not Marcus Webb. You. Whatever is underneath Marcus Webb, the thing that built him convincingly enough to fool a man who has spent years learning to see through everything. It is the best moment of the operation. It is the moment you transmit the compound's coordinates. The helicopters arrive 6 hours later. You are extracted 40 minutes before they land. A vehicle takes you to a debriefing facility outside Zurich. No windows. No clock visible anywhere. 3 men who don't introduce themselves sit across a table and take everything you observed and fold it into Argus. Your human perceptions becoming machine data, your instincts converted into variables. The warmth of that server room reduced to confirmed coordinates and asset neutralized. The debrief lasts 6 hours. At the end of it, one of the 3 men tells you something with the flat effect of someone reading from a document. Argus had identified the compound 14 months ago. It had located the server 8 months ago. What it needed was a human being to enter the property without triggering Marsh's counter-surveillance systems. Systems specifically designed to detect any digital intrusion. A human with no active signal, no trackable device, no predictable behavioral pattern. The AI identified you as the optimal instrument for the operation. It designed the insertion approach. It selected the auction as first contact point. It recommended the specific painting and the specific bid amount calculated to attract Marsh's attention based on his documented aesthetic preferences and spending psychology. You didn't run the operation. You were the operation's last moving part. The one component that had to be biological because everything else had already been automated. You walked through Zurich Airport 3 days later as yourself for the first time in weeks. The facial recognition cameras above the departure gates process your face in 0.3 seconds. A green indicator. Asset confirmed. Cleared for travel. Threat level 0. The machine knows exactly who you are. It knows what you did. It knows what you're worth. You think about Marsh in the compound library, firelight on 12,000 books, a man who built a fortress of analog beauty against a digital world and still lost. You wonder if he saw it coming. Whether Argus had calculated the probability of his end long before you walked into that auction house in Geneva. You think the answer is probably yes. They give you 14 days. A wire transfer of $180,000 to an account that will close in 30 days. A handshake from one of the 3 men whose name you will never know. Then silence. You rent a cabin 4 hours north of Zurich. No Wi-Fi by choice. No phone signal by geography. You sit on the steps in the early morning with coffee that is actually hot and listen to the forest, which has no agenda and generates no data and asks nothing from you. You think about what it means to be human in a world that has learned to simulate humanity with increasing precision. Argus predicts behavior with 94% accuracy, which means it is wrong 6% of the time. And in that 6% lies everything that has ever mattered. Love that defies probability. Betrayal from people who had every reason to be loyal. Mercy extended in moments where no rational model would predict it. The choice made for no reason that any system could explain. Marsh spent $2.3 billion trying to live inside that 6%. It wasn't enough. You wonder if anything is. The phone rings on the 10th day. Your handler. New mission. New target. New legend. They need the 6% again. They always need the 6% again. You sit on the steps of the cabin with the phone in your hand and look at the tree line. Somewhere above you, a satellite is trying to find you through the canopy. In approximately 4 square kilometers of dense alpine forest, you are invisible to every machine on Earth. It will last another few minutes at most. The orbital path is predictable. The gap closes. You look at the phone for a long time. Then you answer it. Because they built machines to replace what you do. Faster, cheaper, without conscience or the capacity for doubt. And when the machines needed someone to do the one thing they couldn't, the thing that requires a heartbeat and a history and the freedom to be completely, dangerously wrong, they called a human. They called you. Maybe that isn't purpose. Maybe it's just the last use of a tool that hasn't been fully replaced yet. But in a world where everything human is being quietly automated, the act of being needed, even as an instrument, even temporarily, even for work you'll never be able to speak about, is the closest thing to meaning you know how to hold on to. You say yes. The forest is still. The satellite finds you. And the machine moves on to its next calculation, satisfied, indifferent, and completely certain about what you'll do next. It's right, of course. It's almost always right. Almost.